Good morning and Happy New Year. Hope you had a Merry Christmas. I just wanted to check in and remind you that you mostly hear from me when I have dire warnings of things that have happened or been done or question marks on people or history. So why would the new year be any different? We're just going to continue in that vein because there's something I want to talk to you all about. And for those of you who don't know me, I have background in the military, a military historian, and people psychology. I studied human behavior. Those are my two degrees, and that is my main interest is what makes people do what they do and what happened in history that we can learn from since, well, that is where we came from and eventually where we will be going. And I have been fortunate enough, as you can tell from my advanced age, I remember life before the cell phone, before the internet, just about before the computer at home as well. I remember playing with my friends. I remember when my friends had parents that died, I would see my friends physically. I'd be next to them in the classroom. I would see them on the playground. I would see their pain and try to console them. But I would understand how they felt because I could see them. I could see it in them. Today, when your friends die or something tragic happens or something great fun happens, you are now left with an emoji that fits whatever that happens to be. That has taken so much away from the human interaction, the experience of human interaction, what comes with that. You have now, the past 20 years, or specifically since 2014, you've seen an extreme amount of anxiety rise in young people. 2014 was when Instagram and the social networks really came online and started messing people's life up. All your interactions began to revert to online communication. Yes, great, you can communicate with people much broader and much further away, but they're not really your friends until you physically meet them, are they? And a lot of people have fallen into that trap, leaving them still physically alone at home, wondering, looking at all these super successful people, men and women online that they should look up to, where in fact many of them are not nearly as successful as they pretend to be online. Many of them are not even real. I had a friend of mine, she recently told me that she had a crush on a woman online until she found out she was entirely AI. That's how good that is now, and that is terrifying. You hear people who have outright lost their mind, that would be the psychological correct term, and married their AI girlfriend, which of course there's no such thing. But why is this? Why are people like that? Because they're lonely, because they are alone. You can be in a crowd and be lonely, but you can still have the possibility of reaching out and touching somebody else, or a little chit chat at the grocery store, or the people in the gym, or going to work, if you happen to be unfortunate enough to be in the subway without being murdered. Now, one thing that sort of made me think about this was we recently went to a trip and we were in Italy. And for no particular reason, I was filming Fortress in the Alps. And there was no food at that time. So despite being in Ezra, we did the wrong, horrible thing and went to McDonald's because, well, we had a long drive. I was hungry and I wanted to grab some sort of snack food. And I went to the McDonald's, and true to who I am and where I came from, I go up to the counter to order with the very attractive Italian girl standing there, who ignored me for a while. My friend, she was looking at me like, just punch it in at the screen. Just order up here. I'm like, no. And the Italian girl eventually came to say, well, what she could do for me in broken English. I said, well, I'd like to order. Oh, I could just go to the screen over there. I said, no, I'm a human being. I prefer to take my order to other human beings. Social interaction. That's what makes people people. That is the human experience. That's what makes us better and makes life interesting. And she looked at me like, if you don't know how it works, I can show you. I'm like, no, I just want to place my order with you. Well, I couldn't. That got me thinking. Here's a woman who can't be bothered to. She will be bothered to show me how a machine works, as if I didn't know that. But she couldn't be bothered to actually take my order, which is theoretically, you would think why the counter staff is there next to a cash register. And that led me to thinking, this girl doesn't understand what I'm doing. She just, well, we have technology for that. I'm like, yeah, great, because this technology will one day make your job obsolete, and then you will not have a job. Have you noticed there's fewer cashiers at the grocery stores since the self-checkout? Granted, the self-checkout is faster many times. Can you get a human being on customer service? Or even if you go for a customer chat? This is a problem. This is a problem for a lot of different reasons, not just because eventually this technology will lose people their entry-level jobs. And newsflash for you, working at the counter at McDonald's or being a fry cook at McDonald's is not what you would consider an adult career job. It is an entry-level job, which I probably shouldn't be paid more than minimum wage, and that might not be appropriate to be $25. Entry-level jobs are getting harder to come by. And this is how you learn to work, how you learn to show up to work on time and be dedicated to something. And it also teaches people, young people, how to interact, how to behave in a workplace, how to interact with customers, how to socialize with staff members and people around you. Entry-level jobs are incredibly important because that is where you begin your evolution as an adult. That is how you become a productive member of society. But what we're looking at is more and more people who are not seeking to be productive. They just want to sit home, be lonely, and chat. Which, again, have come full circle, and now we have teen suicides as high as they've ever been. Depression is as high as it's ever been. The sensation of loneliness among a lot of people have skyrocketed. Of course, all of this happened since the wrongful, hard crackdown at the flu in 2020, because that's when things started going wrong. That is when young and impressionable people, or people who were ignorant of facts, were completely controlled and cowered by the system that was completely wrong in what they did and how they did it. That's a different story. But from 2020 on, people were locked in. They were separated from other people for extended periods of time. They were desocialized, causing even an exponential growth in depression and anxiety and the psychological damage this did. And especially to kids who are in the learning phase of life, of learning how to interact with other kids and build their personality. You build your personality vis-a-vis interactions with other people. When you diminish that, inherently you'll start to question who you are and what you're here for. This is a very dangerous slippery slope globally. By looking to technology to take over entry-level jobs, by looking to technology to separate people from other people. It reminds me a little bit of something Abraham Lincoln said. Lincoln said, "A house divided unto itself cannot stand, but a people who are divided are easily to defeat." Easily? It's not a word. Easy to defeat. You know what I mean? It's been up late. If you separate people, you can divide them and break them down. You can make them conform to whatever you want, as you saw in 2020. You saw the people who conformed and the people who didn't and rebelled. We rebelled. You said we couldn't go to restaurants? Well, everybody came to my house and we had dinner every weekend. You know what? We never stopped. Having friends and friends and friends of friends come over, hang out, bring food, talk, interact, social. That is awesome. I grew up in Scandinavia. We usually went to other people's houses all the time. We would eat at home. We would go to restaurants like we do in LA, which obviously, okay, granted, Los Angeles and some of the main city, the large cities in the West Coast and the East Coast are not really synonymous with America. I know. It's not even sure California is America. However, you said, for example, because here I see so many people, they always meet, let's go for coffee, let's go for dinner, let's go to this. No one ever says, come on over, I'll cook. That's what people do everywhere else in the world. That's what we should be doing in the bigger cities too. And this is my call to you is you need to start waking up and instead of letting them force your behavior into the way they want. And believe me, this is not an accident. This is being driven in a direction where we're all separated, alone and logged and numbers in their cog. We are all monitored, we're all supervised. And what do you think happens when your only means of social activity is with other people is through the internet? And now they start censoring the internet. And like in England, you saw this poor woman who had been arrested because she wrote a friend mean things about a man who raped her. And she was arrested because of that. Personal messages, not even online. So now your internet communication is not safe. Certainly isn't in England. It may not be much longer in the rest of Europe unless you people start standing up and saying, no, you cannot let your life be dictated without freedom of speech, even amongst people. But all of this is a way to sway people, to turn people into a direction, into personality traits that are easily manageable and easily controlled. This is all about control. People who meet, who get together, who gather, who talk, who exchange ideas, friendships, handshakes, eye contact. They're hard. They bond, and it's harder for them to have that bond broken. If all you know is on a switch online, what happens when and if that switch gets switched off? Now you are alone. What if we have another massive riot like in 2020? Do you have plans? When the internet, the power goes. I spent some time in Ukraine recently. What do you do when the internet goes? You can't communicate, you can't make calls. Now you're on your own. What happens in Western countries when that goes? Which I could see it happen. Remember, global warming was just canceled, which was nonsense to begin with, let's face it. But it was just canceled because the powerlists that be, Bill Gates and other schmucks like him, we realized, oh, oops, all these server farms for AI, they need electricity, so we can't really destroy our Western manufacturing and electricity production like Germany has done. Because, again, politicians in charge are not smart people. They are bad people, and they're being led by worse people. But this is about people. This is about community. What you need to do is start building your community. Start knowing your neighbors, know the people around you. Start making friends, having house parties, having block parties. Have friends in your apartment building. Start meeting, start talking, start being social, and stop using the automated machine to order. I no longer buy meatballs in IKEA because I can't order up at the counter. I don't order from a machine. If I go out, part of the reason why I go out at all is to interact with other people. I don't use the self-checkout. I do sometimes, but not as much. And I most certainly, the first thing I ever do if I get on customer service is ask, are you a human being? If I'm on the call with a machine and I said, I want a human being, you need to insist on human service, human interaction at every level you can. And maybe you should stop taking your business to companies and businesses that are automating. I know it's good for the business, especially when governments like in California are upping the minimum rate so much and healthcare and everything else that they can't afford to have employees. But the big corporations, they don't have that problem. Amazon is just firing 10,000 more people. Amazon was a massive entry-level job place. They kept producing jobs wherever they went, and they're expecting to become 100% automated in a few years. They build it up to fire you and tear you down, and you need to say no. Find alternatives. Go shop at the mom and pop shop. Do your business with people where you have other people to interact with. Start mingling with your friends. Build your social network. It's the only thing that will make you feel better. Question what you hear and question what you're told. Question what I just told you. Problem is, what I just told you is, it's true. And instinctively, I'm right. And you shouldn't actually be sitting here listening to me at all. You should take your friends out for coffee. Or Well, that's not exactly what I said. You should make your friends coffee. You should cook for your friends. You should go to the gym. You should get out and do sports. You should interact with other people. You should find out what your neighbors are doing. Maybe they need help. Maybe there's an old lady that needs shopping help, something. We need to get back to bonding with our friends and neighbors and families and building our social groups. That's the real village we need to get back to, and do business with people who do business with people. More to come.